I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to know to do well in performance reviews so you can grow and supercharge your career in tech. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another video. My name is Alex. If you want to know about business and product management, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of the new videos. Today, we're going to be talking about what you need to know and how to prepare for performance reviews with career development and growth in mind, exactly the things to focus on, how to approach it, who to work with, what to avoid. Let's get started. This is another one of those lengthy discussions, so you may want to bring some water, maybe pen and paper or a document, take notes, leave me comments, let me know what questions you have. If I can clarify anything or help you with anything specifically, leave a comment down below. I answer all the comments. Having said that, let's dig in. This is mainly meant for product management in top tech. However, a lot of these aspects can be applied to other fields in tech. It doesn't have to be top tech companies. In order for this playbook to work best, usually you need an official structure of a performance review process. Now, usually startups have a lot more leaner methods for reviewing performance, and sometimes it can be completely unofficial. The process can be undocumented. In the bigger companies, there's a very specific performance review process that usually takes place every 6 months. The bigger the company, the more rigorous and specific that process is, and that's why it's incredibly important to understand the way the performance review process actually plays into your path, your career path in the company, and exactly what you need to do and what not to do. A lot of the times you just don't get that information, but actually it's in everybody's best interest for you to have this information, since both the company and the people working for the company do better if they know exactly what is expected of them. So if you're a product manager in top tech early on in your career, this video is going to be the most effective for you. If you are not in product management or not in top tech or midway in your career, you might have figured some of these things out. I still encourage you to stick around because there might be some things that you just didn't know yet. So first, I want you to understand how the career development process actually works within bigger companies. Every 6 months, there is a formal process where each employee will go through this process of full review of what they did and how it should be evaluated as compared to the peers. And as a result of this performance review, pay gets determined, bonuses get determined, opportunities for promotion get determined, and general movement throughout the company. So if you think about startups, in startups, it's all about getting results. The teams a lot of the times are smaller, so everybody knows about everybody's impact to the organization. And so in startups, you just have to go and get things done, and then your small team will usually see the effort that you're putting in and, most importantly, the results that are coming out of your effort. And so the performance review process can be informal because everybody knows your impact on the business. And a lot of the times there's also not a great need for performance review in startups that is more formalized, because the purpose of the performance review process in the bigger companies is to provide structure to who should stay and get promoted and whose career does the company effectively want to invest more in. So think about it like that. Performance review process is meant to help the company understand where they should invest their time, attention, funds, and support. Over the short term, it's more for the candidate, more money for the candidate, more opportunities, but over the medium and long term, it really determines the investment that the company makes in the individual. So those folks that have strong emphasis on career development in mind, you want to grow specifically because you want to grow your pay, you want to grow your influence, the ability to work in bigger projects, bigger teams, more important to the company, whatever it is, you have to approach it with that goal in mind. You have to plan for that. Now that you understand a little bit about why we need performance reviews and how you can leverage them to grow your career, let's talk about the actual tactics that you should use and what aspects are important. Performance review is usually where each person will present their efforts that they made over the last 6 months and the results of those efforts. Then usually a committee will meet and decide how that performance and impact and effort should be evaluated based on a certain set of criteria that the company has set, based on the expectations for the particular level of the employee and the team, the organization, and overall the company. And so here are the things that you need to plan for. Number one, make sure you understand that performance review is something that should be done throughout the 6-month performance cycle, not at the end of it. Usually people will put it off at the end and focus on their actual work, but performance review does not always evaluate your actual work. It evaluates what can be demonstrated of your actual work. It's kind of like a court case. It's not necessarily what happened, it's what you can prove. Maybe that sounds a little off-putting, but the reality is that the performance review team that will be evaluating each candidate is not aware of the accomplishments. It is not aware of the product area a lot of the times. And so each employee has to do a wonderful job of concisely explaining what it is that they did, why that was important, and what the result was. And it's very difficult to do that if you approach each performance review cycle at the very end and try to cram everything in the last 2 weeks. So make sure you approach it actually at the beginning of the cycle. And the performance review cycle should actually inform a lot of the goals that you set for yourself and your team. So when you're setting your goals, it should crystallize it even further that you want to set such goals for yourself and your team that reflect the values that are held by the performance review team. There are certain specific skills that a product manager is expected to exhibit in order to get things done within the company. And the bigger the company, the harder it is usually to get things done, to execute. And I'll link a video talking about the top skills required for a PM, but just to quickly recap them here, you need a few things. Scope. How big is the area that you're working on? Impact. What is the result of the work, specifically that you did? What would have happened if you were not there? What would be the impact? What would be the differential? Then the overall impact. Product managers are there in order to make sure that products get launched, the products are successful, that the products are offering solutions that the users want, and that ultimately whatever business indicators or company mission objectives are met or exceeded. It's very important to understand that, especially for product management, it's not necessarily about the effort. It's mostly about the impact. What was the result? Were you able to get execution? Were you able to get alignment from folks? Were you able to get movement toward a particular goal? Were you able to show some specific numbers in whatever business objectives were important? And the higher you are in the leveling, the more important it is to think strategically. How many people and divisions and organizations are you impacting? How broad is the scope? Is it just a feature? Is it a series of features? Is it a whole product? Is it a product line? Is it an entire business? How cross-functional is the effort? How complex is the area? Are you tackling complex problems? Maybe some of the stuff is common sense, but it's very important to understand that it's not about how many documents you write as a product manager necessarily. It's not about what the total footprint of the product that you're working on, although that's a part of it. It's whatever area you are in charge of or whatever area you're helping on, what was the impact of your efforts specifically, and how did you bring other groups of people or individuals together to help move something closer towards execution or deliver greater results. Those are the things that you're trying to demonstrate. So as you're thinking about it, actually write down the things that you want to demonstrate in your next performance review. And then make sure that the goals that you're setting are actually aligned with what you're going to need to demonstrate. Because if you're going to need to demonstrate a particular attribute about how you launched something, then it might lead you to prioritize certain other development areas that you would not have prioritized if you're only thinking about goals. If you want to grow your career, you do have to combine and find an overlap of the organization's and the group's mission and your career growth. Most of the time when we're talking about early career or even mid-career, you do want to focus on delivering very strong indicators in your performance reviews so that you can keep getting bigger projects, more responsibilities, higher compensation, and ultimately that career trajectory. Next point to keep in mind. Think about everything that you deliver during this 6-month period and think about how you present it and how you will demonstrate it, how you will provide evidence that you actually delivered these attributes and these results for the company. Think about that package. When it is reviewed, you will not be in the room in most companies. You will have a representative or it will just be a manager or a group of people that are reviewing the package. Again, the bigger companies will do it this way. Some of the smaller mid-sized companies, you might have your direct manager or maybe your manager's manager actually evaluate these performance reviews and provide ratings. But the bigger the company, usually the more impartial the process tends to be. And so as a result, you're going to have these committees reviewing packets of candidates, of employees that they don't necessarily know. And so your packet needs to speak for itself, yes, but you also need to make sure that you are building a net of support in the organization. Product managers, by definition, are supposed to be plugged into everything that's going on, constantly talking with engineering, with sales, with user design, user experience, user research, analysts, executives, program managers, project managers, stakeholders. You need to build that net of people that will vouch for you effectively. Because as powerful as it is to write up a strong packet about what you accomplished, it is way, way more powerful when other people can speak for you and either confirm what you did or volunteer certain aspects where they've seen that you brought value. So when you're thinking about 6 months, again, you're not thinking about this at the end of the process, you're thinking about it at the beginning. Think about the relationships that you want to build and who are the key people that you want to make sure are part of your support network that are going to speak highly of you because you've delivered something for their team or for them or for their project, because they saw the results of your effort or because they saw the results of the alignment that you bring or expanding the product or helping the customers or solving problems or cutting through ambiguity or getting executive buy-in or getting stakeholder alignment, whatever it is, you need to plan for those folks. You need to actually write out, here are the engineering contacts, here are the PM contacts in other departments, here's sales, here's everybody cross-functionally. And another key ingredient here is ideally you want those individuals to be higher level. Most bigger tech companies will have a leveling system, and so in your work you want to try to get as senior support net as possible. Try to focus on key cross-functional stakeholders, certainly in your team, but also outside of your team that can speak highly of you with specific examples. And if you approach that, again, that will help you in goal setting because you can help set overlapping goals with your neighboring or related teams, but also you could think about how you can help certain other projects, how you can collaborate, how you can make sure you deliver. And you have to deliver in those key relationships. So that's the second element, very important. The third element is your direct manager or your direct supervisor or your manager's managers, whoever is going to be actually representing you at these situations. Your relationship with your manager in general is probably one of the most important aspects of performance review and career growth at any big company, tech or not. Hopefully you have a good manager, a manager that can set goals, that understands what's happening, understand the relevance of the team to the company. That relationship is extremely important. It has to be as authentic as possible. Try to make it as transparent as possible. I know a lot of it will depend on your manager, but I do recommend, again, right off the bat, making sure you set up your goals. You set up expectations. What does your manager expect of you? And you can help set those things once you understand what is required of the team, the project, and the company. You can help align on those things, but don't leave those unspoken. This brings me to another point, the mid-cycle check-in. You've got to have at least a few check-ins with your manager where your evaluation and your manager's evaluation of your performance should be aligned as much as possible. And you don't just want to reach the end of the 6-month cycle to understand that you thought you were up here, your manager thought you were down here. That's not fun. And this is exactly the thing you need to avoid. That basically eliminates your chances of career development in that cycle and potentially further. In tech, velocity of your performance is very important. It's not just about what you can do in 3 or 6 months. It's what you can do over a long and sustained period of time. And is your performance holding or getting better, or is it declining? Think about it again as a marathon. You want to be doing this a long time. You want to be successful for a long time. You need to be able to organize your life and your efforts in such a way that you're getting things done consistently for the long term without deteriorating physical or mental health. It can't just be these short bursts of productivity for a cycle, because again, if the company is making serious investments, financial and resources into you and your career growth, and they know that there's always the risk that you're going to jump to another company, they need to make sure that your performance is sustained over a long period of time. And that's why I don't want you burning the midnight oil. You need to approach this in a smart way, collaborate with your team as much as possible, build bridges, extremely important. Meet with your manager, work with your manager to set those expectations. Make sure you explicitly talk about what it means to be at this performance level and at this performance level specifically for you in the next cycle, the next 6 months or 12 months or however long the cycle is, and write it down. Have a shared doc where you've captured it. Here's the check-in. Maybe the next check-in is in a month and a half. Hey, how am I trending? Are we still on this level? What can I do to reach the next level? And by the way, instead of saying, what can I do? You can say, here are some things I was thinking of that I think will show next level performance. And let me just clarify that whatever the ratings are in the company that you're working, 1 through 5 is the most common or some variations thereof. They each have their own designations. Sometimes they're very specific. There's certain traits you need to exhibit, certain things you need to do. Sometimes they're more vague, but in either case, you need to define what those levels are, what is expected. So what is the sort of expected on-level performance, and define what results would be tied to this performance with your manager, and also define the next level and the next level. First of all, you can take the stress out of it as much as possible because you're not guessing what am I going to be from your manager's perspective. And this way, when you're coming into the actual performance review time, you've got the packet built because you've been building it all along. You've aligned it with your manager. You've set up your support net, the folks that are going to back you up and talk about the things that you've done and the impact that you've had. And finally, you want to make it easy. You don't want to tell really complicated long stories about why this particular setting changed everything. You need to approach it from a storytelling perspective. What's the story? What's the impact? How can you get to it as soon as possible? Certainly in lower levels, maybe early career, it's going to be harder to do that. But mid-level and beyond, I strongly recommend that you keep it really high level. What are the big rocks? What are the big things that you've moved? What are the big strategic areas that you've moved forward? Another important point is you need to understand what's happening within your team and the larger organization that you're a part of, and of course the company. What is everybody else doing? What are the other product managers doing? What are the results that they're showing? What are the projects that they're working on? Who are they communicating and collaborating with? Again, part of a product manager's job is to align stakeholders and to be plugged into as much as possible to understand what's happening. The bigger the company, the more complicated it is to actually get execution, get traction, cut through the ambiguity. Because usually your performance is at least partially a function of the performance of other folks in your team or your immediate organization. You need to keep that in mind. You need to understand the general barometer of what's happening so that you're performing at or above. So if you've set the plans ahead of time, you've aligned the goals with the organization, with your personal career development goals, you've talked about expectations with your manager, and you're having regular check-ins with your manager every month or month and a half about how you're tracking for this performance or the performance above level. You're setting up your internal support network of folks that are reliant on you, are happy with your work, are collaborating with you, and you're being very concise in how you talk about the impact of your work and the work that you did, and you're having this performance on a sustained level in a marathon style, you're gonna do well, you're gonna grow very, very fast. Common mistakes that I've seen are people that write way too much, and it's hard to understand where the big impact was out of all of the things that this employee did. As a result of that, that actually shows a lack of focus. Doing a lot is great, but if the person or the team can't identify the elements that were truly impactful, that's gonna do harm to this employee's packet. Another common mistake, waiting until the last minute, putting everything together at the end. This guarantees that your goals will not necessarily align with your performance review packet. Another mistake, not checking in with your manager might set you up for a very uncomfortable surprise. And remember, because it's all about the velocity, sustained performance, if you do poorly in one cycle, it's going to take you a few cycles to prove that you're back on path. So unfortunately, missteps are severely limiting to your future short-term career growth. You can certainly improve, and I don't want you to be discouraged if that happens to you, but it's very important to approach this proactively from the very first moment you start. And you should even pick your teams or pick the projects that you're working on with that in mind. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash the like button as always, and subscribe if you haven't already. I see 70% of the folks that are watching the videos are not subscribed. Please make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon, as I'm going to be posting multiple videos, and we're going to be doing live streams covering resume reviews, career check-ins, and we're going to do interview with actual product managers and business leaders in tech. It's going to be a very exciting quarter. It's going to be very exciting in 2021. I hope to see you there. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.